and good Monday evening to you. It is weather for Weather Geeks time. It's another pretty quiet forecast for the next several days, with one exception possibly later on tonight. We'll talk about that momentarily, but plenty of interesting things to talk about in the short range and the longer range as well. Let's start out this evening with the view in Boardman at about 7 p.m., just a little before sunset. Of course, our days are getting shorter rapidly. We're losing 2 minutes and 42 seconds of daylight at this time of the year. Our most rapid daylight loss is still occurring here in late September, so we're getting close to sunset, and it was just a few days ago that the sunset was directly over 224, looking west here in Boardman towards the Canfield area. Now the sun's going to set a little bit more to the south, of course, of Route 224 as the season continues to progress. All right, it was a toasty day today. We made it to 79 this afternoon. The record set 4 years ago, 90 in 2017. The record low is an older record, 29. Early season hard freeze on this date back in 1957. So a mild day all around for us today. We're almost to the end of September and almost getting to be smack in the middle of meteorological fall, the months of September, October, November. Our average high on the final day of the month, this Thursday, will be down to 69 degrees. By Halloween, our average high is 56. So it's a steep decline. We're losing a lot of daylight, and the temperatures are responding as such. Now, these are the long-term averages. Of course, our daily weather can feature a lot of variety and some big changes or big differences from these averages, but these are the 30-year averages. All right, our weather quiet for most of the day today and into this evening, not only here locally, but throughout most of the region. There's actually a cold front off to our north. It's hard to find on the radar and satellite this evening, but you look at the temperature map, and south of the front, it's toasty late September evening, still hanging on to 80 in Columbus and Indianapolis, almost 90 in St. Louis, but then Marquette, Michigan's at 54. So yeah, there's a cold front lurking off to our north. This front is going to head into kind of an interesting environment overnight tonight, one in which there will be an increase in the dynamics, the atmospheric dynamics, that would favor shower and thunderstorm development overnight. So with the early morning update today, the Storm Prediction Center did place eastern Ohio, the panhandle of West Virginia, and western PA in the low-end risk for severe weather, not during the daylight hours today, but overnight tonight and before daybreak tomorrow. It's a low-end risk, and we're not likely to be placed in any higher risk than this with this setup, but it is an interesting setup for tonight. You think late at night in late September, with dew points not especially high and that sort of thing, it wouldn't be a great setup for severe weather, but we do have a pretty potent disturbance in the upper levels that's going to be pivoting through. You got that cold front coming south, and a decent setup for hail later on tonight. Again, not something that we think of a lot at this time of the year, especially overnight, but the primary risk with any spotty shower and thunderstorm activity late tonight is probably going to be hail. That's why we have that low-end severe weather risk, because it may be more than just little pea-sized hail. You might get some decent-sized hailstones. Again, kind of worst-case scenario. It's not especially likely, but at the top end of the possibilities here with these storms, some pretty decent hailstones. And again, this is coming before daybreak tomorrow morning. So not real concerned about damaging winds with this, so no tornadoes with this, and even heavy rain does not seem particularly likely. Now, could there be a downpour? Sure. But it's kind of one of those rare circumstances in which hail is actually the primary threat with any late-night thunderstorms. What about the timing on this? This is primarily after midnight tonight and, say, before daybreak tomorrow. So I would put it between 2 and 6 as the most likely time frame. And I also kind of think that the most likely geographical areas to get a hail-producing storm maybe just to our south and east. I kind of suspect the risk is a little bit higher closer to Pittsburgh, maybe Wheeling, heading over towards Johnstown and maybe State College later on tonight and very early in the day tomorrow. But even in our TV viewing area, it's something that can't be ruled out. A noisy thunderstorm that might have a few hailstones with it when most of us are still sleeping or just getting up first thing tomorrow morning. This cold front will slide through. We'll stay in the clouds for a little while, but hey, it's going to be a great second half of the day tomorrow. The sun's going to be out. A much cooler night tomorrow night as high pressure builds in. A beautiful day coming up on Wednesday, and just a few fair weather clouds in the mix on Thursday. Our model here tries to spit out a couple of raindrops downwind of the lakes. Don't think that'll be much of an impact for us around here on Thursday. Actually, this dry stretch should take us through the end of the week, the start of October on Friday. And then the first weekend of October, at this point, looking pretty good. The Panerathon in downtown Youngstown's coming up on Sunday. I'll be running in that with Team Peacock here at WFMJ. And Some of the modeling is trying to cloud it up and even spit out a couple of showers on Sunday. I'm not buying that just yet, but our forecast does include a chance for showers now Sunday night and heading into the day on Monday. Longer range thoughts. This is the official outlook from the Climate Prediction Center 8 to 14 day period, showing, no harsh October chill around here. Now that's the official outlook, but there are some interesting things to talk about in the longer range. Out in the Pacific, we have a typhoon. Now, this is way out there, east of China right now. Australia's down here. Who cares about this, right? Well, recurving typhoons that are moving to the north and then eventually back to the east, can have an impact on the weather patterns downstream across the Pacific and then eventually across North America. So we're looking down on the northern hemisphere here in this model look, and way out here is our typhoon, that kind of circular area right there. As we roll this forward, again, this kind of recurves and starts heading to the east. And when typhoons recurve, it can cause a chain reaction downstream. Just immediately downstream of that recurving typhoon, oftentimes you see a ridge of high pressure popping up. Downwind of that ridge of high pressure, a trough of low pressure, and so on and so on. And so you can get this ridge-trough pattern. And depending on where the ridges and troughs end up setting up, we could have a pretty warm period, or if the right combination of things happens, if the right sequence happens, maybe we get a trough trying to dig in to the eastern U.S. as we roll into that first week or 10 days of October. Right now, most of the modeling is continuing to hold on to the idea that any downstream troughing is likely to set up along the west coast into the Gulf of Alaska, and there's probably going to be a pretty big ridge across central and eastern Canada up towards Hudson Bay, and maybe then pretty significant troughing over New England and over Newfoundland and Atlantic Canada. That would place us kind of in between that east coast trough and that big ridge off toward north and west. So compared to average, it's not likely to be perhaps as warm compared to average around here as in a place like Manitoba and heading up towards, again, Hudson Bay and central Canada. But we're also probably not going to be under that big deep trough like they will be maybe in Maine and up into far eastern Canada. So for us, probably a fairly mild period to open October, but not crazy warm. This is the latest European weeklies. This is a set of modeling put out twice a week, Monday evenings and Thursday evenings, and this is the temperature outlook for the next 30 days. Now, of course, in a 30-day period, you're going to have all sorts of variations, but when averaged out, lots of warmth forecasted by this model, and this goes right along with most of the model trends over the last couple of weeks for the month of October. It seems pretty unlikely that October will be cooler than average in many places east of the Rockies and especially east of the Mississippi. Precipitation, next 30 days here on the latest run of the European weeklies. Pretty wet signal in the middle of the country. Not so wet at all across the Mississippi Valley and east. So at this point, the month of October, according to this modeling and a lot of the recent modeling, we favor drier than average conditions. We favor warmer than average conditions. Now, of course, those long-term averages fall all month, so a warm day by the middle of October is highs in the mid-60s. So don't expect a lot of 90s or anything like that. But at this point, October does not look particularly chilly compared to the average. All right, thanks for sticking with me tonight on tonight's weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you back here, same time, same place on Tuesday.